What is up, game changers and soul warriors? I have something a little interesting I want to talk about today, albeit most of what I talk about is pretty interesting. But for this full moon today, we are in a full moon right now. It is October. No, I'm sorry. Time is flying by. It is November 5th of 25. We are in the midst of a full moon, and usually I'll do some kind of healing for the full moon. And I will be actually doing my creative workshop healing after this, and it will be on the website and available for you to purchase if you choose to. But besides that, I want to talk about something pertaining to the moon today. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the landing of the moon. I channeled about the landing of the moon back in 1966. There's all these theories about whether it was real or not real. And even Mythbusters did a show about it years ago that I watched where they couldn't prove it to be true or not to be true. So it could have been bunked. And I've never asked about it. So why am I asking about it? I'm going to tell you. Okay, first of all, my name is Master Juniper Bloom Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, a Master Healer, and a Divine Guide. Since 2019, I had a Kundalini awakening, and I have been doing stuff to the earth for the return since then as a part of my own awakening and healing journey. The return is very real, but it's not the apocalypse. Spirit actually does not like that term or any shadow brought into the light, because that's really what we're doing, is we're eliminating all shadow from the light. We can't be duality anymore. And some of you are aware at this point that we've been living in what they call a matrix reality, right? Like a false reality system. So that's what I have been doing since 2019. It's not normal. It's pretty awesome. Awesome sauce and mind-blowing. So I encourage you to check out this channel, but actually taking the time to watch the things, because I wouldn't want to make that stuff up. You know what I'm saying? It was very real, very vast, and it takes some time to process the work. So I encourage you to just check things out, okay? When we bring expectations and judgments into the true work of light, it can blind and bind us. So we just want to be aware of that, not mindful. That word is toxic, but truly aware. Bring an awareness into what we're allowing to see and observe and absorb, and just becoming more omnipresent. Okay, so with that being said, today I want to talk about, for the full moon, what really went on with the moon. The reason I am curious about it is because through my journey, I have done many healings on the moon, many, and Horus even returned. Thoth had stole that, and we returned the soul back from Thoth and gave it back to Horus, and then Horus actually rose from the Sphinx later on in my journey. But the healings of the moon began way back in 2020. I believe it was 2019 or 2020, right after I had my awakening. And I'm going to show you guys where to find these things, okay, on this channel. And some of them aren't necessarily on the channel, because it gets into the Black Pyramid in Alaska and CERN and HARP. Oh my, okay? I was like, whoa. So I'm going to try to do my best to make this understandable. And I'm going to also show you the references that Spirit pointed towards. Because one of the very first moon healings that I did, I began by sitting on Saturn and raising Atlantis with Hermes the god. And then after that, and everything I do is truly energetic. It's spiritual presence. I go into the quantum field, into all things existence, to where time does not exist. And I do this work activating pyramids, and it does go into the Jesus and Mary Magdalene timeline, the Sekhmet and Horus timeline, and then the Adam and Eve timeline. And my journey was those three timelines, removing all the darkness and bringing back those soul alignments, okay? The divine masculine and feminine, rebuilding the crystalline grid on the earth, and so much more. So there's a lot to this that help make this make sense, okay? Because the world we all are in, that we have been living in, that we have been born into this lifetime and others, was a complete, kind of like a movie set, right? And I remember at one time on my journey, Spirit pointed to the movie The Truman Show, and I hadn't watched it until like in the beginning of the journey, because here's the thing. I started out doing those things, then I started healing the sun and the moon, and I returned the language of the sun back to the sun and connected it back to earth. And then the first pyramid I activated, listen to this, the first pyramid I activated was in Fiji. And when they told me to go to Fiji, Spirit, I was like, why Fiji? What's in Fiji? We didn't know. And all this is on my channel. I'll show you where to find those. And those happened way back in 2020, 2021 timeframe. And I'm like, why are we going to Fiji? I had no idea. There was a pyramid in the water in Fiji. And then there's also the portal of the gods there. And it was closed. Okay? And I cleared Mount Shasta before I could activate Fiji. The reason I did that is because they stole the root chakra of the earth from Fiji and took it to Mount Shasta and created an energy vortex at Mount Shasta that was not part of the original grid of earth. And I had to undo that. And then I activated the pyramid at Fiji, returned the root chakra there after I cleansed it, because there was lots of souls trapped at Mount Shasta and a lot of bloodshed. And then I ended up opening the God portal. And that's part of the return work, okay? And then I started activating other pyramids. But let me show you the very first moon healing that I did, something important happened. And I encourage you to check it out. It's free to watch. But I would say it's important to kind of watch all the things, you know, like truly pay attention to all the things. I'm going to see if I can. So I did it. Let me stop sharing. Let me go back to my share. And we're going to do this. Okay. There you go. So you should be able to see me as well now. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, so the screens you see are very important here. This one was a recent workshop that I did in July of this year. Okay, we're almost done with 25. Can you believe it? And it's called Day 6, Ancient Wisdom. So I recently did a workshop series of going into ancient spaces and ancient wisdom. And they were awesome. We started out at Mesopotamia on day 1. Way back to the beginning of time, and then I started clearing all these things. We went to the Tibetan like temples, and we cleared those, and Buddha's reign ended. Okay, I actually took that out, and then we went to like other places. And what essentially those workshops were was I was calling back the power of the past and reintegrating some into New Earth. Some things will be brought back into New Earth, but on day 6. See, does it give me the title? Here. Day 6. Here it is. Day 6. Can you see that? Ancient Wisdom, Awakening in Hidden Places, the Black Pyramid of Alaska, and the Hub of CERN, or HAARP, was undone. Okay, so that ties into the moon, and I'm going to tell you that because that's what Spirit told me. I channeled about the landing on the moon of 66 and what it meant and why it happened and if it was real or not, because I really never asked before. But I've done a lot of stuff to the moon. Okay, so I do have that. That was done in July 24th of 25. It is an hour-long video, so I don't think I'm going to play it today. It is not on YouTube. But it was pretty awesome. So I went and found this pyramid in Alaska that I didn't know existed, and I undid it. It was pure black. It was not filled with light. It's not connected to the light grid. And they said that in Alaska, at that pyramid, there was also this really big satellite, like a really big dish, you know, like those big round dishes. And it was there, and it was also part of what they used for mind control. Now, how does that tie into the moon? I'm going to tell you. Stay with me. And so that with this black pyramid and the moon and other things, they actually were able to manipulate mankind. And that's what they use it for. So let me get into that, okay? Because I'm going to come back to that. On my channel, there's a playlist called The Return of Christ Unfolds Here. The entire channel is my whole entire awakening journey and that whole entire path. It's not all on the channel, I have to tell you that. Some of it is in my courses. There was multiple moon healings that are not available on the channel. There's multiple moon healings. It's only in the Path to Righteousness, because that's how Creator had me do it, how God had me do it, okay? But the very first moon and sun healing, okay, so I cleared Mount Shasta, also processed Jesus' death in this time frame, but that was not the totality of the return of that, trust me. That comes up again. Many things do. Cleared Mount Shasta. Then I went to Fiji and activated the first pyramid there in 2021. Mount Shasta was done, I think, in 2020. The dates should be on it. And at the same time, I did the first healing to the sun, which we returned the language of the sun back, okay? It was removed, okay? It was disconnected from the earth and the sun. This is important to understand for the moon, because the sun and the moon are just like Horus and Ra and Adam and Eve and Jesus and Mary Magdalene. They belong together. They connect together. It's the masculine and the feminine energy grid of the earth. And it is connected to Jesus and Mary Magdalene, Sekhmet and Horus, and Adam and Eve. There is no separation anymore. But they had caused one. Stonehenge comes in too. I did a video about Stonehenge. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So I did the healing of the sun. This was like back in 2020, 2021. Okay. And then I did a healing of the moon. This one is so important, y'all. Okay. Guided meditation to eliminate the false light and the negative energy of the moon. This was the very first one. The very first one. You can watch it. You can use it. In it, I had mentioned this, like, I haven't watched it in many years. I'll tell you that right now. Let's see, does it say? It was done in March of 2021. Okay. I do remember in it, I mentioned satellites, and I mentioned that the next time they listen in, their ears are going to bleed. Okay, the next time they use those satellites to listen into mankind, their ears are going to bleed. I also mentioned a satellite was going to fall out of the sky, and it did less than 24 hours later. Satellite, let's see, I posted it here. I thought I did. Yeah, so watch this video link for proof that later that day, after I recorded this meditation, an actual satellite fell out of the sky near Oregon. Okay, so I had said in this video that a satellite was going to fall out of the sky, and the next time they listen in on mankind, their ears are going to bleed. This is important. This was the first healing of the moon, the very first healing of the moon that I did, and it was 2021. And it was right after I cleared Mount Shasta and activated Fiji, or around the same time. You can actually look at the dates. You can totally do the research on that, because it was my awakening journey, and I've done so much that sometimes for me the time gets jumbled. It's like it's just yesterday. It was profound. These things were true healings where I use my light and my energy and I go into them. And I remember at one of the moon healings, there was like this false crust, this false grid of the moon that I broke apart, and the moon was reborn. And during my journey, there was a battle with my own twin flame in that union. And I spent a year trying to stay on course and keep going before I brought down the blood of Christ and undid the Holy Grail. But that's important, because by the time I did the Nile came through and we dried the Nile, turned it blood red. Sekhmet and Horus came up, processed Sekhmet's death, and then Horus's death was processed later. And I remember taking the soul back from Thoth because it was stolen, connected to the moon. Thoth is not a god of light, okay? He stole the soul of Horus. He stole the power of the moon. What does Stonehenge have to do with that? A lot. A lot. So Stonehenge, I did a video about later on. Okay, and then after we did this one, so I said there was satellites connected. Pay attention, because that is also part of what I undid here with the Black Pyramid. There were satellites that came up, and there were those big dish dome thingies, and they used those to create this false world, and also as mind control of mankind. When I undid Mount Shasta, I talked about that a lot. It was a false reality, a false foundation, a false grid system, and they used it to manipulate. So 666 is the mark of the beast because it's your mind. They get in your head, they create thoughts, and if you decide to pick up those thoughts, then you let them in. Okay? So it's guided meditation to eliminate the false concept of time came right after that, and the matrix grid. Okay? Then I started activating more pyramids. These were the feminine ones, and we activated the Sphinx, which is the portal of time. Then more came up with that. So all I knew at that time was it was a pharaoh. Later I learned Sekhmet built the Sphinx, right before Horus rose from that later on in the journey. Then I reactivated a whole chakra system, which went into New Earth, and it just kept going. But I want to go down here and show you why 666 was important, because it relates to the moon, which I'm about to share with you. Look here, bringing down the blood of Christ. I actually did that. Jesus came in and we brought down the blood and we started cleansing, and I didn't understand why we needed that until I undid the Holy Grail on Christmas Day of 22. Then my mind was completely blown wide open. What the Holy Grail was kind of goes into what they did with Stonehenge, and how Thoth kind of stole the Horus's soul, and how Jesus was actually truly murdered, not on a cross, but it was intense. So then more pyramids, more other stuff, and this is where I learned Sekhmet time frame came in. Okay, so we started activating masculine pyramids now, and then I started processing the Sekhmet timeline, and then I dried the Nile. This is important. Okay, it really does all connect. Truth about the Sphinx that they hid from you. If you think that wasn't hidden, everything was. The reason why Eye of Horus and Eye of Ra need to come together. Okay, that is a healing activation. And then I just kept doing so much more. But I channeled about Stonehenge. Okay, so here was Horus' return. His soul rose from the Sphinx, which is why Sekhmet built the Sphinx. It's a portal of time. It's all kind of connected and intense and very vast. But eventually I processed that. We got the soul back from Thoth, and then that soul fragment rose from the Sphinx and aligned with the DM. More stuff to the sun and the moon came. Now the moon is only available for the rest or on my path to righteousness. There was about, I don't know, 6 moon healings, maybe 8 in total. But I wanted to show you because I did a thing about 666 being the mark of the beast. I think it's in this playlist. Undoing the Sistine Chapel, the money matrix, the medical matrix isn't on here though, but also Stonehenge. So I wanted to show you where to find the video about Stonehenge because it comes in here in the channeled message about the moon. Okay, and also 666 being the mark of the beast was important to understand for what they're going to say about the moon and the moon landing in 1966. I don't know. Let's see. Truth about the sun. Maybe I don't have it in here. I need to put it in here. I'm going to find it. The one about Stonehenge. Prophecy of the Red Dragon was actually Mount Shasta. Undoing Mount Shasta was undoing and beating the Red Dragon. That's how I know that California was cut off from life support, and San Andreas Fault has been shown to erupt several times during the work. But when it will happen, God would never tell you. But I know it's in the energy. Okay. You guys, I did Stonehenge video and it's important, and I thought it was on here. Here it is, right here. The truth about Stonehenge they don't want you to know. Right here. Okay. I also have one about why 666 is the mark of the beast, and that's because they get in your head. Okay. So pay attention to what I'm saying. I know it's a lot. Oops. I didn't mean to click on that like that. So the Black Pyramids in Alaska is the hub of CERN or HARP, and it was connected to something else across the globe, a few things, and satellites and these big dome dishes. Okay, what does that have to do with the moon? I'm best to tell you. So the truth about Stonehenge, they don't want you to know. I recently channeled that one. That comes in again, okay, about the moon. It's important. Stonehenge was a portal. It was a portal connected to the sun and the moon. And a battle happened there many, many years ago. Okay? So this is all a part of the return because they used God's grid against the light. They tore apart Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Horus. They tore those souls apart. They were twin flames. Battled them, tore them apart, ripped apart the earth grid, and changed it to that of their own. Okay? So, what does this have to do with the full moon? Or, sorry, well, the full moon today, I wanted to kind of tune into this. What does this have to do with the landing in 1966? And what does this have to do with what's happening to the earth right now? Everything. What does this have to do with the return of the gods, the return of light, the ascension? Everything. Okay? So when Horus's soul was freed and he returned, he got the moon back on his chest. We had to steal it back from Thoth. Whatever soul that was in this lifetime, okay? So, truth of the moon. Of all the days before the day, so I channeled about what happened. I specifically asked Spirit, what happened in the moon landing in 1966? What happened? Okay, I specifically asked Spirit, what happened? What is the truth that happened? Supposedly they landed on the moon. Buzz Aldrin, right? And Armstrong or whatever, Neil Armstrong, supposedly landed on the moon with the Apollo 11 in 1966. And there's been a lot of conspiracy theories that it didn't happen. Did it happen? What the hell? I'm going to tell you right now. But this message is vast, and it goes with a lot of things that I've been dealing with. So, healing the moon, when I went to the moon several times, there were things up there. Okay? You can watch that video in my playlist, but also the ones in the path. There's like 7 or 8 moon healings. And when I would go to the moon, there were beings up there. And I also said in that first one, the next time they listen in, their ears are going to bleed. And then God had pointed towards the Truman Show. So in the Truman Show, he's escaping, like they're on the moon, they're manipulating his reality, they're only allowing him to see what they want him to see. And he's trying to escape to Fiji. And I was like, oh my God, like it makes sense. I went to Fiji and activated the first pyramid there and reactivated the God portal, opened it up, unburied it, returned the root chakra back to Fiji. So then you question the Truman Show, like, holy shnikes, Batman. And then you also wonder why, what's his name? And everybody's like, he's awake. The actor, whatever his name is, my mind went blank right now. Anyways, so let's hear this, okay? So this is what they said happened in 1966, but they give you the full picture, okay? I'm going to read it to you. So just go flow with me. Of all the days before and past, they hid the truth intentionally and fast. Of all, so Spirit's message is vast, and a lot of people put expectations into it, and I'm going to tell you to just observe, okay? Just be omnipresent with me right now, no expectations or understanding of what they mean. We're going to listen to the whole thing and allow it to process. That's what you do with Spirit's message. You don't assume anything, okay? Because that'll leave us missing pieces. Spirit's very vast for our capabilities. So our mind is limited on this earth, okay? But this is a good message, so we're going to listen. Of all the days before and past, that's also why when people are like, on this day and on this day, I'm like, nope, God would never tell you a day. I know what's coming. I know what I did. I know what we're in. I know it's the end of ways. But God's never going to give you exact dates. That's not God. God does not play in fear, and he doesn't like the words apocalypse. He doesn't like anything that's going to cause fear or judgment. God does not judge. That's a lie. Okay, and when you do judge each other or his work or what things really are, you leave yourself blinded and binded because it's not God. Okay, so here. Of all the days before and past, they hid the truth intentionally and fast. Very important first sentence. A stealing of a soul divine. A stealing of a soul divine. So I told you, they stole the soul of Jesus with the Holy Grail, and the murder and what happened with him, and the reason that we had to cleanse with his blood is because they stole his blood and used it as a tool to write the Holy Grail and stole his soul. That was one of them. Horus, Thoth, stole his light, his soul, and the moon power. Adam and Eve, they murdered Eve. Okay? And when I rebuilt the chakra system, when I returned the language of the sun back, I processed that death, and the white flame was returned, and the language of the sun was returned through Lake Titicaca, which is the earth's sacral chakra. So we gathered, Fiji was the root chakra of the earth. Titicaca is the sacral. So a stealing of a soul divine. Intentional of control of mind. So Spirit, what was the landing of the moon in 1966? And this is what I got. And they pointed to all the work. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense because I know what I undid and I know what I was shown through the journey. Of all the days before and past, they hid the truth intentionally and fast. A stealing of a soul divine. Intentional of control of mind. So what I tell you about the Black Pyramid, it was satellites. There was this big, huge dish there, and they would use it as a control of the mind. CERN, HARP, that's what it's used for. But it was also connected to the moon, and what did Stonehenge have to do with it? I'll fill you in more. So the landing was an intentional control of the mind. Does that mean they went there? I'm not saying that yet. Hold on. The moon and the sun divided and blinded and weaponized against mankind. Long before the moon landing, hear this, long before the moon landing in 66, ETs and reptilians too took the form of habitable space. So as I mentioned in one of the moon healings I went to, there were beings there. They were not like you and I. They didn't look like this. But there were habitations. There were things there. If you think things weren't already on the moon, think again. They are. They were. And the moon was weaponized. So was the sun. They were separated. The eclipse, I also realigned the eclipse and the moon and the sun alignment, okay, and the moon was reborn. But listen, so long before the moon landing, ETs, reptilians too, took the form of habitable space and power of the human race. Satellites and big antennas listening in to all of you. Satellites and big antennas, those big dish things, listening into all of you. And when I recently undid that in July, the Black Pyramid in Alaska, Hub, CERN, or HARP or whatever, all connected. And it did take part in mind control. I also channeled about the monoliths and what those are. Those are all connected. Those are like a mapping system grid, and also like that 5G wave energy thing. It like sends these weird waves of frequency that mess with your head. It's true. This is not a conspiracy theory, because all of the work I've been doing since 2019, undoing and healing the moon and the sun, align with it completely too. And all of the other things I've done since 2019, like if you look back and look at this, it's like, whoa, there's no way I could have known this stuff. It's not a conspiracy theory. I could have cared less about theories and conspiracies. That's not who I am. So satellites and big antennas listening into all of you. Okay, but this gets into why that happened in 1966. So let's listen. They built upon the moon so vast. Hidden spaces, life and habitable spaces. They changed it all in front of you. So they were literally living on the moon. And it's kind of like, you know how they talk about people living inside the earth? That's the image I get. It's like they're not quite on the surface, but they're there. So they built upon the moon so vast. Hidden spaces. So it's like they're hidden on the moon. Life and habitable places. They changed it all in front of you. And I even saw something about like water on the moon. But I don't know. They didn't specify that. To what they wanted you to see and to be true. They changed it all in front of you to what they wanted you to see and to think is true. Stonehenge. So when I channeled about Stonehenge, that you can watch, Spirit showed me it being a portal that connects to the sun and the moon, and a big war happened there. So a battle. And listen, and they used that's how they stole the power of the sun and the moon, was through Stonehenge. Stonehenge, a portal of the sun and the moon, a battle lost temporarily. It's true, but it's all been undone now. That's how I know it's the end. It's all been undone, and I've been doing that since 2019. A battle lost temporarily. It's true. They only wanted you to see what they wanted you to think was true. Can we go to the moon? We have many times. Technology they hide from you. Can we go to the moon? We have many times. Technology they hide from you. Thinking they can't do what they already can. So do you think they sent Aldridge and what's his name to the moon? I'm thinking that was more of a ruse. Let's listen to what they say. But does that mean we can't go to the moon? Oh no, nay, nay. We've been there many times. Many times we've traveled to the moon. Technology, they hide from you. So what Spirit is showing me is they make you think we don't have these capabilities that we actually do have. They make you think that we're incapable of doing certain things that we've already been doing for a long time. So they hide these capabilities from you. They hide this technology from you because they want to keep our vibration very, very low. If we start to awaken to what the truth is, then they would lose power and control. So thinking they can't do what they already can. Okay? So, but here's why the moon landing thingy was projected in 1966. I'm going to say it that way. The moon landing thingy was projected to you in 1966 because they wanted you to think they were accomplishing something that was inaccomplishable. Yet we've already been going there. So if they really went there, we would have saw things that were different than what we saw. You feeling what I'm saying? You picking up what I'm putting down? So then it's like they got into specifics. Something happened around that time. It was a distraction of another kind. So like Roswell. So there was some exposure, and exposure came through around 1966. I did not do the research on that yet. I know Roswell happened in like 1947. They weren't saying specifically it was Roswell, but they're saying it was like Roswell. So something happened at that time. It was a distraction of another kind. So they used the moon landing as a distraction. That's one piece of it. So hang on. There's more. Like Roswell, an exposure came through. So something came through that was kind of probably going to like cause mankind to question the government or question things, but I don't really know what was happening. They didn't point to specifics. And they distracted all of you. So the 1966 moon landing was number one, a distraction, but it goes deeper than that. It's money laundering. The government is the biggest money laundering scheme you have ever seen. And you wonder why there's a government shutdown right now. There's no coincidences. Because I channeled about that too. They're battling about exposures. Okay? I know everybody doesn't like Trump, but he's a money man. All right? And if money's going into things that is not serving mankind, he's going to speak about it, and they don't want him to. And it's not about food stamps. It's much bigger than these things, you guys. This is much bigger than we can fathom. So 1966 was a money laundering scheme, and it was also a distraction. So if something happened and they want money, they're going to put out a ruse to say, hey, we want to fund Apollo 11. We want to fund all of these things, and we want to be able to go to the moon and make you think we're amazing, and we're like making strides in our technology and ability, and we're going to the moon. Yet they've been doing it the whole goddamn time, and they've been using it to manipulate all of mankind. Remember my first healing? Next time they listen in, their ears are going to bleed. I'm like, oh my God, why did I never ask about this before? I'm like, sons of guns, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is pretty dark stuff. And we wonder why, but when you have the lens of the apocalypse, that's the shadow. You don't want to bring those words into the light at all. At all. It hurts God, it hurts you. And we don't also want to go into anger towards what was done towards mankind. But when you know the truth, why would you not want to rise? You know what I'm saying? It's only because the shadow is a hold of you. So anyways, 1966 was money laundering and a way to distract you. Okay? So something had happened, some kind of an exposure, and they wanted to fund something. They wanted to get money to fund something, but to make the books look like the money went to something else, like going to the moon. So there was a money scheme and a distraction, okay? It was a way to get and allocate funds in the public eye, but used in ways outside of what they say to be true. It was money laundering. Black Pyramid of Alaska, HAARP, and CERN, all connected and used against you. And the Truman Show. Did you get all of that? So 1966, something happened around that time. It was a distraction of another kind. Like Roswell, an exposure came through. And they distracted all of you. Okay? So something happened to cause people to go, Something was shown that shouldn't have been. Something happened that they didn't want the people to see. And so they used, hey, we're going to go to the moon. And they got a lot of people to focus here. And on top of that focus shift, they also were able to call in and allocate money in ways that they fooled you that they were using for. Okay, so they make you think that we don't have money. They make you think they freaking print money. But it was a way to get all this funding and allocate it out, making people think that we're doing all this research, we're going to the moon, we're technology rising. It was so cool, right? Landing, oh, they make you look at them like heroes all of a sudden, rather than the money laundering ruse that they are. Like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay attention over here to the distraction I place in front of you. Like Wizard of Oz. That's another movie. God compared what was happening and what they did to all of you. So the Black Pyramid of Alaska, HAARP, and CERN, all connected and used against you. Now, I don't know if I should upload that one, but you're going to miss all of the pieces. So day 1, we went to Mesopotamia. Day 2 is like Tibet and the temples there. We went to Peru in these crystal caves in one of them. Magellan came through in another one. We went to like Spain area and other places, and all of these lies were cleared and purged. And we went to the Black Pyramid in Alaska that I undid, and CERN and HAARP. And there were a couple other things. So, you know, to know the truth is power. It's not about a conspiracy theory. It's not about, oh my God, let's use this. And I'm not here to pick up the shadow and bring it into the light. I'm here to remove the shadow from the light. Okay? That's my goal and my purpose in all of these things that I do. I want to remove the shadow from the light. And they have been lying to you. They have been lying to you. Now, really quickly, I'm going to show you, because I wasn't lying when I said that there were lots of moon healings. There really were. Okay, I had lots of moon healings. So remember, this was the Day 6 Ancient Wisdom in July of this year. Awakening the Hidden Places, Black Pyramid, Alaska, and the hub of CERN and HAARP. So it was in Alaska was the hub. Now I know they talk about it being somewhere else. It's all in that video. So it's not just Alaska, but they use satellites. And when I undid the medical matrix with the WHO, it was the same thing. It was satellites and the system of control, and also through your DNA with the medical matrix one. But of course YouTube banned that one. But that one and all the other moon ones, excuse me, are in my course. So God had me take everything that I did and put it into something he called the path of righteousness, because if you continue to bring your shadow into this work, it will hurt you. So not everything I did is on YouTube. The medical matrix I put on there, but YouTube banned it. Of course they did. Of course they did, right? They banned it. So in the path to righteousness is the entire return path home. The entire return path home. Okay? That's right here. There is, so I awaken you. You may think you're awakened, but you're not. Then elimination of individual and collective shadow work starts, but it continues. I teach you how to call your power back, and we heal you into it. Lionsgate Portal Ascension Pathway is a major trauma release, removing the matrix. So there's so much healing in this. It's like everything you need to truly rise into new earth, except you have to continue to choose love. You will be tested through choices no matter what you do. But this path allows you to see that. You have to be strong and push past resistance. It is the true path home. It is the true path home to clear and heal all your karma, trauma, remove the matrix, meditation to align to the ascension, karmic contract alignment. You have to be aligned. That's why you don't want to cut those contracts. Okay, so you go through all of this, Mount Shasta Part 1 and Part 2. Fiji 1 and 2. Fiji Part 2 is not on YouTube. That's where I truly opened up the God portal there. Sequoia, then I remove all the past for you, and we keep doing that. There's so much in here, okay? So releasing darkness of the false moon, shadow healing, and manifesting healing. So sun ascension activation, and then the false concept of the moon. These are the two on YouTube. And then we have boom, 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 okay? And there's more moon removal. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are not available on YouTube for the moon. So I did a lot of healings to the moon, a lot. Shadow work of the crystalline grid connected to the Sturgeon full moon workshop, dark side of the moon. New moon workshop with Goddess Athena and Luna to release and manifest anew. Shadow work, but see you guys, these are much more than the titles lead on. Removing ego body, addictions, fear body, limited beliefs, shining the light within, anchoring in our vibration, and light and divine manifesting. Okay? So they took away all of this power. You know, you talk about manifesting, but you were limited. You were totally limited. These are the first set of female pyramids. More pyramid activations, portal of time, huge stuff. Medical matrix removal and virus matrix removal. Medical matrix removal. That's also important because in that one was the big satellites, but they also, you have to heal the DNA in your spinal fluid. And I've allowed some people to access that. So it's actually healing. You have to heal out of it. So they literally use your DNA, the cerebral spinal fluid, these satellites, these huge dishes, and it's all a way to manipulate you. On YouTube. This is Angel Rays. Yellow, green, blue, and more DNA activations. This is Christ DNA coming through the rays. I do that through the pyramids. I do that through the crystalline rays, through the angels. My journey is quite vast. And to limit it will limit you. There's a lot to my journey that you do not see. There's a lot to my journey that you do not see. And, you know, people will throw a lot of judgment and things their way towards it. Like, why am I not famous? I never wanted to be. God gave me the formula to get people to see me. When my DM and I battled and I got to walk in and he didn't show up, people can't see it fully. It does require him and I to be together for everybody to see fully what's happening. That's why they separated us. So it is partly on the DM for not stepping forward, but also because you can't see past your shadow. You can't see past your shadow. So as we awaken, people will see this work. God showed me you'll get downloads of this work and what really happened. it's in the Akasha records. Everything is. Okay, including the truths of the moon. But until we're ready for it as a collective soul, it doesn't come in. It trickles in information that we're ready for at the time we rise into it. So the more people take on the light, the more people choose love over the shadow, the more we will awaken. We are in a mass awakening. That's why they call that. So God shows me like waves of these energies coming in through the sun, because I healed the sun and I healed the moon. And I took away their ability to control and manipulate mankind. Does that mean they still won't get people to choose the shadow? Some will, over the light, especially through religion. That was also false. So the medical matrix, the food matrix, religion, these are all the blueprints of the shadow. It's like these tentacles, and they use those to control and manipulate, divide, to limit the vibration and understanding that you have. And when things come through like an exposure that might cause people to awaken, they would immediately stop it and switch and distract you. And then they use things to launder money. So they say, hey, we can't do this. They make you think that they can't do certain things that they're already doing, because if you knew what they were already doing, what they were capable of, they wouldn't be able to fool you. It's all about fooling mankind, a manipulation of another kind. Okay? So I encourage you to watch the videos that you can. I don't know if I'm going to upload the Awakening Wisdom. I don't know. We'll see. I'm also going to do my Creative Flow Healing Workshop. If you want that, I'm going to do that next and upload it to the website for purchase. And that's to help you align more to the heart space, to the creator that you are, the creative flow that you have, because we're all creators. It's not just about being an artist. It's about being your creative self. Life is art. And in the new earth, we're going to be heart-centered and creating from that. And that's what I do. Okay, so everything I do is about your soul path and aligning to it. So don't limit these things, okay? Because it's important not to. A lot of people do. All right. So much love, my friends. I hope you got something good out of this video. I will see you soon. Bye-bye, soul warriors and game changers. See you on the flip side.